You speak into your microphone and have it on if you wish to speak.
Do what now? Wait. Stop.
We're going to call this Dickson County Planning Commission meeting in order February 9th, 2023. Mr. Comer, would you please give devotion, please, sir?
Yes, I will. Gentlemen, if you remove cover and pray with me. Great glorious Father, we ask that you be with us tonight and provide us the wisdom to wisely discharge our responsibilities on behalf of the people of Dickson County and the business of our county government. We ask that you wrap your loving embrace around all those in need or in want and to give them comfort in their time of trouble. In particular, we ask that you give a special grace to our Commissioner Green, who had surgery and has come out of surgery today, and we wish for him, aided by you, to have a speedy recovery. We ask that you be with all our first responders that help keep us safe and healthy here in Dickson County. We ask this in your precious holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Mr. Darnell, would you call roll? Here.
Tina Ferris,
Here.
Darren Green, Robert Qualls,
Here.
Tommy Brown,
Here.
Jeff Chase, Shane Chandler,
Here.
Gary Peeler,
Here.
Christy Sullivan, Robert Comer.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we do have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. At this time, I'd like to recognize all the visitors in the crowd and ask you, if you did not sign in, please do so as you exit. There should be a sign-in sheet up here in this middle table. At this time, we'll move into the approval of the minutes. Has everybody looked over the minutes of the previous meeting? Like what you see, dislike what you see, have a comment? Ms. Ferris? Oh, Mr. Qualls.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to move for approval in absence of any objections to the minutes as presented.
Have a proper motion by Robert Qualls. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by RJ Comer. No further discussion. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We'll now move into items. Item number 1 is final plat for amended lots 1 and 2 of the Harmon property, Sam Hollow Road subdivision. Tax map 126, parcel 45.00, 5.76 acres, Sam Hollow Road, Dickson, Tennessee, A1 agriculture, 2nd district.
Okay, this was surveyed by Christie Surveying to change the lot lines between lot 1 and lot 2. Lot 1 will go from 3.05 acres to 2.63 acres, and lot 2 from 2.69 acres to 3.13 acres. The main purpose of this is to allow easier access to put in a driveway due to the nature of some of the rough terrain coming off the road. Harrington?
I have no corrective comments. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. This is the 2nd district.
I motion to approve the lot and no comments from staff.
Okay, have a proper motion by Tina Ferris. Do I have a second? If not, I will second. Shane Chandler seconds. Proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll move into item number 2, final plat for Taylortown Road at Stacy Road subdivision phase 2. Tax map 81, parcel 95.00, 1.1 acre, Taylortown Road, White Bluff, Tennessee, A1 agricultural, 5th district.
Okay, this was surveyed by XL Land Company, creating a 4th lot in the subdivision. You'll see on the plat, it is lot number 3. Lots 1, 2, and 4 were approved administratively in January of 2023. This also required the addition of 1 fire hydrant, which you'll see is located on there. I do have email confirmation from Michael Rogers that there's no issue supplying water. At this time, there is no sureties that have been paid on the fire hydrant. Harrington?
No corrective comments. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. This is the 5th district. Mr. Qualls, you got any comments?
Nobody. No one is opposed to this, Mr. Chairman. I have not heard any pushback against it. I just, as a personal comment, would like to see us maybe at some point, not now, move about these non-contiguous subdivisions where the lots don't abut each other, but this is perfectly allowable as far as I currently interpret the subdivisions regulations as that are written, and I would move for approval.
Okay, I have a proper motion by Robert Qualls for the final plat of Taylortown Road at Stacy Road subdivision phase 2. Do I have a second?
I second.
Have a second by Gary Peeler. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll move into item number 3. There's a rezoning request by Bryce Glenn and Nadine Guthrie, tax map 90, parcel 3.00, 1651 Yellow Creek Road, Dickson, Tennessee, A1 agricultural to C2 commercial, 3rd district.
Okay, this request is to rezone 95.58 acres from A1 to C2, and they want to open a small tourist court. Yellow Creek Road is also a state highway. It's 46 north. This area is in the county's growth boundary, and there is commercial properties located both north and south of this property, but they are sporadic. What they would like to do is basically develop 3.5 acres of it and keep the rest in its natural state. You'll see included in your packet was a copy of the traffic assessment. And if this is approved, will go to the county commission for public hearing. Ms. Harrington?
I have no comments on the rezoning application.
Okay, thank you. I was contacted by Mr. Bryce Glenn. Are you in the crowd? Yes, sir.
Yes.
He sent me further information. I spoke with Mr. Darnell to see, kind of where we was at with this. And I spoke with Mr. Green 2 different times, and he said as long as everybody else was in agreement and staff comments was in line, that he was in agreement with this as well. What is the will of the commission?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I like the fact that for this development to be useful for what it seems to be intended for, which I figure is mostly like weekend retreats, people from Nashville, it's going to do more to keep a lot of that area open and natural, because it really, to me, it's only valuable if it has that tremendous natural setting, which I'm very familiar with that area and know that it has. And I also know there's nobody here to represent that district right now, is there? But I think that this is a good, best and highest use for what we talk about. This is a good use of that land. And I would like to actually see this come about, and I'm moved for approval.
Okay, have a motion by Robert Qualls for approval. Do I have a second? I have a second by Christy Sullivan. Do I have a proper motion and a proper second? And do I have any further discussion on this matter?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I wanted to state my thoughts about this for the record as well. I was hoping to do it before a motion, but I'll do it now. Like my colleagues, I think this is a terrific use. The 1930s and 1940s were typified by these tourist courts before there were freeways. Many of them were kind of divey. Occasionally, they were very upscale and a kind of a nice place to stay. And this is kind of going back to that. So in that sense, it's very much a rural use. The application is complete. It's a professionally done application. I want to applaud the applicant for the work done on that, as well as the traffic study. So the work here is good. The use is good. But here's the issue. We've got a use that takes up a small percentage of the site, but the whole site is being asked to be zoned C2. And whenever we consider a zone change, we have to consider 2 things. We have to consider the proposed use, but we also have to consider the fact this land is going to be C2 from now on, whether this use gets developed, whether this owner owns this land or not. And my difficulty is when I look at this lot and I see this 95 acres that is in a primarily rural use area, and it looks to me like this peninsula of C2, on that second consideration, notwithstanding how good this use is and notwithstanding how good this application is, I have to stop and think is like, am I comfortable turning this entire site to C2, and whether there might be an alternative? And by saying that, I have not yet decided how I'm going to vote on this. But here's my thinking is I would be more comfortable if I saw this site divided into 2 lots. The front lot staying, the lots that don't really serve the use staying A1, and the lots that serve the use, I think I'd be much more comfortable going C2. If the lot was more than 5 acres, access wouldn't be a problem at all. We could find a way to make sure that their entry feature from the highway is allowable in the A1 zone. We could figure out a way to do that. I guess I'm a little disappointed I didn't see something like that for this kind of use, because the whole site's not being used for C2, and yet we're being asked to rezone the entire site for C2, and that troubles me. That's what I wanted to share.
Thank you, Mr. Comer. Is there any other further comment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a comment. I noticed somewhere, and I'm sorry, I thumbed back through and couldn't find it, that the community has supported this. Is that correct? Do you have any names of any of the folks there that have supported this, or any letters of support or anything like that?
So I have.
Mr. Bryce, would you please come up to the podium, and that way we could hear it on the recording? Thanks, sir.
Thank you for your question. So I've spoken to a gentleman who owns a mobile home park on Yellow Creek Road that's right near the entrance to this property.
I'm familiar, yes.
His name is Randy. I don't have his last name off the top of my head, but he is supportive, as is one of the adjacent landowners. I can get their names over to Mr. Darnell, but I don't have them off the top of my head.
Thank you. I would, if that's permissible, I would like to know who that is.
For sure.
I did have one phone call about it that had some concerns, and I share Commissioner Comer's concerns as well, at that whole parcel being C2 is concerning to me as well.
Anyone else have any comments?
I'd like for Mr. Galen to have an opportunity, because I'm sure he would like the support of the entire commission, or as much as is practical, to say why it's done the way it's done and what he's comfortable with, what he'd be amenable to, where we can make this kind of amicable and see if we can all accomplish what we're trying to accomplish here.
For sure. And I have some additional materials. I don't know if they're needed at this time. You've
If you
already
want.
handed out.
Yeah, I think that's the same thing. I think we've already given them. that you sent me.
Okay, well, in any case, I might as well hand them out.
Sure.
There you go. Just so you can give it a little bit more review. And I'll answer when I get back to my phone.
Sir, is that the same information you had emailed myself?
It is.
Yeah, just give them the copies. That way we have enough. Give one to Miss Harrington.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
So I think that the point raised by Mr. Comer about the entire site being C2 and the question as to, is that the proper use, is obviously a great point. At the current time, I have the property under contract. I haven't completed the purchase of the property. So rezoning it all as one is the way that I was advised to pursue this. I think, it's possible that we could go that route. The area is really suitable to, I think, as some members have pointed out, this proposed use with cabins. And I think that that's really ideal. I think we could potentially consider, because the entire site won't be taken up by the cabins, we could consider some additional cabins in the future if they were complementary to that usage, and that would have to be brought, before the board and approved. But at the current time, I think that's just the most straightforward way to go about it, and that's what I've been advised to do by Mr. Darnell to support the development today.
Thanks, sir. My input on it is if he plans on doing further expansion, if this takes off, if we don't agree to rezone the whole thing and we rezone part of it, then that opens the door that it's the second leg probably would be rezoned, but it's strictly up to you all. Yes, sir.
two things. One is if we were to condition approval on that we approve the rezoning, but only as to the proposed building sites on the application before us, and the condition would stay something that no other C2 development would be allowed without another application coming before us. Would you be amenable to that condition?
Absolutely.
Right.
It's my intention to keep the site as wild as possible, hiking trails and so forth, support the cabins, and that's the entirety of my intention. So
Would you be amenable to a condition that says that?
Sure.
Okay. The issue, Mr. Chair, is we can't rezone a portion of a lot. Split zoning on lots is disfavored in the law. We don't have that luxury. I wish we did. So what's before us tonight is we can rezone this entire site and condition it in a way that makes us comfortable by saying that we condition it, but the condition says that the undeveloped portion of the site must remain undeveloped. We have that power. It's a zone change. It's a legislative act. We can add that condition. If we added that condition, I could support it. Well, we're going to make that recommendation here. So if that condition were added, I would support it.
Well, it's your development and it's my motion, and I want to let my motion stand, but we can amend my motion. If you're amenable to that stipulation, I'm certainly not opposed to it.
Well, my goal is to have the proposed development go forward, and obviously I would like to work with the commission to see that. So any changes that you'd like, I'm happy to have.
So somebody else might know the answer to this. And I'm not, and I would want to leave you a margin in the periphery.
If you were to do that, you'd want to make sure however many acres you want needs to be over 5 acres. And he can run at least 50 foot
Right.
off the road. That way
Absolutely.
It can be divided up as a separate parcel. If you want to have 100 foot at the road, whatever, but it needs to be over 5 acres to do that.
Yes,
Would
sir.
it be better to have a bit more than that, the whole back section? That's strictly up to you.
Would it,
Want to have a split zone? piece of
I
property.
totally agree with that, Mr. Darnell.
But let me add this as well. Whether we vote this up or down, it's strictly the county commission's decision, correctly?
Correct.
Keep that in mind, please.
Mr. Commissioner, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, would it serve us well to defer this and discuss this further? How we would approach this?
That's strictly up to you all. Like I will reiterate that however we vote, it's strictly up to the county commission. So, I mean, we can vote it up, we can vote it down, and they can do whatever they choose to do. My personal preference, if this is what you all think is a good idea, we send it on with some restrictions, and then if they see fit to put those on them, that would be their choice. They typically, historically, I've never seen them go against what we've decided, but they certainly have the ability to.
The suggestion to defer would give you a little more time to digest what we're speaking of tonight. And I know we've thrown a lot at you here. And you've got a contract on the land, you hadn't made the purchase yet. That would give you a bit more time. I don't know how my constituents feel about that.
Well, we still have a proper motion and second on the floor. We'll have to vote on that unless Mr. Qualls and Ms. Sullivan chooses to amend their motions.
Or what?
I know Mr. Green is supportive. Obviously, he's not here today, but it's in his district, and he and I discussed it, and he supports the project. I think the best path forward is obviously, from my perspective, is to allow the motions to be voted on and move forward. Given the nature of the contract and the purchase, delaying things would probably not serve the project as best as possible. But obviously, I respect the commission.
I won't put words into Mr. Green's mouth, but he did tell me that he did support this, provided that it would septic for the amount of units. So
That's, of course, that's true of anything we
True
do,
of
because
anything.
we're not doing a soil study as we sit here. I'm just going to address this directly then to Mr. Galen. Now, you're aware when something goes to a vote for us, it requires a majority of the entire membership of 12, not just a majority of who's here.
Okay.
So in other words, you're going to have 7 affirmative votes for this to pass. And I'm concerned about you in that regard. I am going to go ahead and vote to approve it, but I'm only speaking for me as the person who's made the motion, and it may or may not pass. That's up to the other 7 commissioners present.
Okay, sure. If it does not pass, is it something that can be brought before the commission again?
Yes.
Okay, well, in that case,
Well,
I
it
would-
still goes to the county commission
Finishing with
regardless,
the-
right?
right, okay. Well, I mean, obviously, from my perspective, I think it's a good project. It'll be a good thing for the county and the district, and I would be happy to have you take the vote, but I defer to your, expertise.
Okay,
For the road frontage, there'll be a gate for guests to enter the property, and it'll be landscaped and tasteful, and that's it. There's nothing else that's planned for anywhere in that area. Yeah.
I'd like to add, I think you've done a really good job here. Okay.
Oh, thanks.
I really do. I share RJ's concerns, as I stated. However, I don't want to rush into this and you not completely understand where the commission sits tonight and the things that have been suggested here. That's my only concern, outside of my concerns on the whole parcel.
Got it.
right.
I think they're very valid concerns, and I take that to heart.
And I will add with that, if it is rezoned as a whole, it will generate a little more property tax for the county as it goes forward as it is. If something happens and this project goes bust and somebody else comes in and develops it under that, it may not be ideal for our situation. But we have no crystal ball.
Right. I just like to add that I also share the concern with the 95 acres turning into commercial. But with some of the suggestions that Mr. Comer said, I could be supportive of it.
It will be a while. It won't be in my lifetime that there is really a need for 95 acres of truly commercial land that far out Yellow Creek Road. I hope not. I hope I don't live to see that in a lot of ways. But I'm going to reiterate that if you're ready to call for a vote, I'm ready to vote.
I am ready. Okay, with that being said, with no further comments, we will do a roll call vote.
Thank you.
Before,
Barry,
wait,
Oh.
I'm sorry, but what are we voting on? This is the
To pass,
straight, just passing without any comments or restrictions, right?
Right.
well, this is passed to the county commission.
it will go to the county commission for public hearing.
We're not passing anything except this project to the county commission. And like I say, whether we vote up or down, it is their call as to whether they rezone this. And then there'll be 2 readings.
Correct.
So at that point, the sign goes out and then the calls start coming in to us and the county commission. So if you don't like the calls, call your county commissioner. They will tell them to call us, but it's out of our hands after tonight until it recomes. Go ahead, sir.
Todd Barry,
No.
Tina Ferris,
No,
Robert Qualls,
Yes.
Tommy Brown. No. Jeff Chase, he's not here. Shane Chandler,
Yes.
Gary Peeler,
Yes.
Christy Sullivan, Robert Comer.
No.
Motion fails.
All right. Motion fails, but it still will go to the county commission.
Yep.
We have item number 4, preliminary plat for Marcus Say property subdivision, tax map 139, parcels 34.12 and 34.11, 9.54 acres, Deerwood Court, Dickson, Tennessee, A1 agriculture.
Okay, this was
Third.
brought back from last month's meeting with Chapter Lane surveying it. And you see they've combined lots 1 and 2. Currently, they're proposing 6 new lots, which that could still possibly change with soils mapping. There is a 6-inch water main on Deerwood Court that will support the development, but no sureties have been paid at this time. Harrington.
There were no corrective comments upon review of the plat.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Ferris, I believe this is your district.
It is. I have the same concerns as last month when we looked at this, that these, what are these, the draining are still draining off into the other adjacent lots. And also I'm concerned of where they would even put a house on some of these, like number 2, 5, still have some concerns with the drainage mainly.
Somebody here representing this, do you care to answer the comments or questions, rather not comments?
So if you look on the plat there, I know when you're seeing number 2, last month it was number 3, is that correct? Yes. The one that, okay. Those are, I mean, y'all look at this every month, the creeks and the elevations. The elevation from where the properties are going to be built versus where the water is draining is the elevation is very different, as in it's going downhill, it's going into, yes, it's going into another property, but the houses are 75 feet higher than where the water drainage is. Also, those are 20-foot easements from what they're calling creeks. Obviously I didn't bring pictures. When we say creeks, these are 6 inches wide, as you know. So they're not actual, like, they're dry weather creeks. They're just runoffs from the road. So when it comes to building on the property, it's one of those things where, yes, they obviously determine it or call it a creek. It's more as a little runoff. I don't know how to explain it correctly, but I know that's one of your concerns on putting some of the building debris, dirt into those creeks. Obviously, we talked about there's no guarantee in Dickson County where there's no oversight. There's no extra inspection on those. So it's one of those things where obviously it's the builders trust, the builders care when it comes to not wanting to change the environment, change the water flow, change anything like that. The last thing a builder wants to do as well is to build a property that then floods the neighbors, because then the whole neighborhood is frustrated, obviously. And that's kind of what the builder's name is built on. So I don't know if that answers exactly some of your concerns.
I just like to ask my other commissioners their thoughts on this.
Ms. Harrington, do you have any input in this, or?
It meets all the requirements.
Anyone,
I
Mr.
mean,
Comer?
Thank you for coming back to us. I know
Yes.
we talked the last time you were here about this, and I think the combination of those 2 lots is a good one. And knowing that when you say that the house is going to be built on an elevation, you're saying that the house that you think that the home building is going to be mostly along Deerwood Court, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
right on the right off the road frontage there.
Question for Mr. Darnell.
Yes.
We did some revisions to our requirements for soil erosion a few months back. And that was mostly to keep soil from rolling onto our driveways or our roadways.
Correct.
Would that same expectation, in other words, this soil containment that we now require for building, would that work on the back end of the lot to keep soil from going into the drainage ditch, the drainage channels? They're really
No.
called drainage channels, by the way.
Right. No, it would not. Usually,
Yeah.
usually when the contractor builds a house, they're going to clear off the smallest amount of area needed because of the cost of it.
Right.
It's just going to be the house site for the most part.
All right.
If
Would
I-
you
if
be
look
able
at
to
all
find a
these-
way to grade this site so that you could make sure that that soil that you're disturbing stays on your graded area or toward the roadway?
Yes, actually, so we built 3 houses in Charlotte last year.
Yeah.
And obviously, most of the time, the only soil that's disturbed is when we do the footers. We usually put that towards the front of the property, towards the roadside, so that any water coming off of that, we're not going straight into their crawl space and stuff like that.
Right.
So especially if the land is already sloping downwards on the back end, there's no reason for us to just toss it towards the back. We want to kind of keep the front elevations as flat and away from the house as possible towards the road anyway. So that's one of the things that we did with those houses. Obviously, you know, these are 12 to 1,400 square foot homes. They're not large homes. So the footers aren't huge. And so it's not, we're not taking up a lot of the dirt. So a lot of that we just pretty much put back towards the front of the property.
Okay, great. When we last talked, I suggested you reach out to Mr. Story, the primary landowner where all these drainage ditches tend to come out. Have you talked to him?
I went by their house. They have it for sale and it's empty. So I don't know. I
I appreciate the effort.
Yeah, I don't know
Thank you for trying.
where they are.
All
How
right.
to contact them actually.
All right, thanks.
What's the will of the commission? Keep in mind that he is meeting the minimum requirements with his plat.
Mr. Chairman, I will move for approval of preliminary plat for the Marcus Say property subdivision, tax map 139 parcels 34.12 and 34.11.
Have a motion by Robert Qualls for approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second by RJ Comer. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. It passes. All right, we will move, before we move into other business, and we do have other business, Mr. Comer wants to make, I want to beg for everybody's forgiveness. I forgot to recognize our newest member, Mr. Tommy Brown. I believe it's Captain Tommy Brown. Is that not right? See, I've messed that up too. Welcome to the Planning Commission. Okay. Mr. Comer wanted to rehash or go over a committee report, not rehash because he hasn't went over it yet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very briefly, to remind the commissioners, we formed a working group to work on some legislation that we were asked to consider by the county commission. That being two pieces. One, a direct notice requirement to adjacent property owners for any zone change request. And secondly, to standardize the front yard setbacks in the A1 zone. I want to applaud and thank the committee members, which were Jeff Chase, who's not here tonight, and Tina Ferris, and of course the staff. We've met 2.5 times now. We have finished our work, and we now are looking forward to, at the appropriate time, getting it on the agenda and bringing it before this commission.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else have anything? Okay, if not, our next meeting should be Thursday, March the 9th, 2023, here in the Booty Reed Commission chambers. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you.